Welcome to the Restore It Ralph channel. This time I'm going to begin a quickie engine rebuild on my 1954 Willys CJ3B. This is my 1954 Willys CJ3B Jeep, and I bought this thing in 2022 for $250 and then proceeded to build a body for it. So the hood is original, the grill's original, parts of the fenders are original, and the edge around the door opening is original, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches below that. Everything else below that 2 inches is new metal that we hand formed in the garage. So it's flat metal, but we took our bead roller and went around and made the wheel openings. So this is all home built. It is not perfect. I never intended it to even look this good. I kind of just wanted a mule for around the house. And I accidentally painted it in 2022 when I got it, and just to seal up the metal, and now it's kind of too nice to go have fun with. But we still do lots of cool stuff, drive down to the river, go to little shows in it, and plow the driveway with it. Runs pretty decent. It's down on power, and then as soon as it fouls number 4 spark plug, it misfires pretty badly. So it is definitely due for a rebuild. I've been putting it off just because, well, I like driving this thing around. But after the Willys show that we went to this spring, it was pretty evident that it was pretty tired, and I didn't really drive this thing much this summer, so it's time to fix it. I would say that is dripping with oil. A little bit of brake clean and sandpaper, and this thing's cleaned up. I'm going to pull number 3 and do the same thing. Number 4 is always the one that does it the worst. I think number 3 does it as well. Fouls out really bad and then starts misfiring. So this thing, when it's running good and the plugs are clean, billows smoke from the tailpipe. So it burns oil real bad and then fouls out the plugs. Number 3 doesn't look much better. Even with 2 fouled spark plugs, this thing usually starts up pretty good. This one now with the clean spark plugs should fire up. We'll take it for one last ride around the block and see how it goes. I'm going to get this thing out of the barn before it starts belching black oil all over my other cars. So since I cleaned the spark plugs, this thing is actually running on close to 4. Blowing oil all over the place. So I probably ought to move so I'm not blowing it on my duct. Check out the cloud of blue smoke behind us. It's running okay, but it's down on power. Even with 538 gears, in 3rd gear it didn't really like going up that hill. And we're running about 40 miles an hour. This Jeep and it was really worn out, but it's time to stop nursing the lawn. It's getting to the point where it's not really going to want to push snow anymore. This Jeep really doesn't have oil pressure issues. When it warms up, it definitely drops, but so far we don't have any knocking issues or any real bad issues with the engine, at least with the crankshaft and rods. So it's time to pull it down and do a quickie rebuild on it before I have big problems. Just like that, we are on 3 cylinders. Not smoking near as bad. It's not firing. Not burning that oil. The goal for this engine rebuild is not to take it to the machine shop. And I should probably do that. It probably deserves that. But I don't want to. I don't want to put a whole lot of money in it. I just wanted to make this thing to where it'll drive 2 miles into town, or maybe even 10 miles into the bigger town, and then be able to drive it to the river and just putz around in it, plow the driveway, and not fume for mosquitoes around my house. So it's Friday evening, and after chewing on this for a second, I think I'm going to change my plans. I had all intentions of starting to pull the engine on this Jeep tonight, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the cylinder head off first. The reason I'm doing that is, as much as this thing smokes, it is very possible that I have a damaged cylinder wall. If I have a damaged cylinder wall, just throwing new rings on this thing is not going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually have the engine block board, or maybe start with a different block. So I think before I pull this thing all the way out, I'm going to pull the cylinder head and inspect it. That's also going to give me a chance to put the cylinder head right back on if I want to keep this thing movable in the meantime. It is that time of year. The corn is coming down. That means I'm going to be working in a dust bowl in my barn. Perfect timing. I am not attempting to do one of those take apart and put together a Jeep as quick as possible videos, just like the old competitions among military men. I'm going to actually take my time on this thing, but get it done in a reasonable amount of time. I hope. I personally have not taken one of these engines out or even pulled a cylinder head on one of these. I was around when my dad did it, like 1992, but I don't know that I was paying enough attention. I don't know how this all goes, so I don't have. Oh, that's interesting. I guess I never put the coil in the bracket. Sweet. I do not have a factory service manual for this thing. I'm gonna look around and see if I have anything in an old Chilton's or Motors manual that will help me out. Although this Jeep was really rough when I got it, it was fairly complete, at least underneath the hood. I put a cheap eBay carburetor on it and a cheap electric fuel pump, and this thing starts and runs all the time. So I do have all the original throttle brackets and all that stuff, so I'm going to carefully be taking this apart. I do also have, I believe, some new oil filter housing hoses, so I can replace that when this thing goes back together. Unfortunately, by painting this thing too nice, I've negated all the benefits of having a flat fender. Usually, you just set all your tools on the fender, set all your parts on the fender, have your own built-in workbench, but I really don't want to scratch this thing up too bad. I guess my fingers are stronger than my pliers, at least more useful. This thing does not have a throttle cable. It's got a series of bell cranks and linkages here. So when you push on the pedal, it does all that. So I gotta carefully take this apart, and this video will help me remember how it goes back together. I haven't really worked on anything this simple in a while, so I'm getting close to the point where I need to start draining coolant to pull this head off. This exhaust manifold is actually on the block, so to pull the head off, I don't have to mess with that quite yet. This is that goofy F-head engine. The goofy F-head engine has the intake valves in the head and the exhaust valves in the block. Instead of like an L-head or flathead that has all the valves in the block, this one has half and half, and an overhead valve would have all of them in the head. This is the F-head. And my dad always called it a head. take it all out there, I guess. I don't want to. I don't know why we have 35 adapters on this thing. You might be opening a can of worms on this Jeep. But I kind of knew that. I had a feeling. Also, am I going to be draining oil all over my alternator? I should probably look at that. Is that a wet coolant bolt? Looks like this guy better start draining coolant before I make a mess. I don't remember if I've had this radiator drain loose or not. From the looks of it, that would be a no. But I have replaced the hoses on this thing, so maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe not. Oh yeah, that's perfect. It drains all over the axle. That's perfect. That'll be a nice clean drain here. Wonderful. That'll work. Yes, I couldn't stand having a flat fender and not be a workbench, so I put a towel on it. We'll be good. All right, I'll precariously perch that there. I will just pull the upper hose on. Yes, I reused this old clamp. Probably should not have. May not this second time. Okay, I'll be right in. Thank you. So this looks like an old shutoff valve that the handle is missing on. So that way you could shut the heat off in the summertime. I don't know that I've ever felt heat out of it, so I'm assuming it's shut off. I need to go get my hose pick. That might make my life easier. I was coming in blind on this thing. This is a shaft mounted rocker. Pretty slick. Like an old typewriter. Sounds like one too. This is mechanically adjusted lash. There's a nut that locks this in place. Take that loose, and then the center screw is what actually adjusts the lash. So this guy over here, I assume is on the base circle. I'm gonna say that's probably more than spec, just guessing. Not crazy bad. That one's pretty loose. I can about guarantee you the lash hasn't been adjusted on this thing in 30 years. So I went to loosen these rocker nuts and I saw these smaller bolts next to it, almost like a tensioner bolt or something. Put some pressure on the rocker arm. I think I'm gonna look that up before I start loosening the stuff and bend that rocker shaft or something. After not finding anything on the internet, everything was crowded up with stupid Hurricane 2-liter 4-cylinder engine failure stuff. So the old Hurricane 4, as this thing is known, I couldn't find anything quickly, so I just removed those two little holding bolts, and I was able to get to these rocker nuts no problem. So hopefully I didn't do any damage to this rocker shaft. Compared to a lot of stuff I've taken apart, there wasn't a whole lot of pressure on this thing. I don't think this thing has a really high lift camshaft in it, if I'm guessing, but I'll have to see what that thing looks like. Let me start pulling this apart. Hopefully this thing can just get a set of rings, some new bearings, good cleanup, and then put back together. That seems like it'd be too good to be true, but we'll find out. Since I'm going to be cleaning up and reusing everything I can, I'm gonna make sure I try and keep these in order. So the wear patterns go right back to where they were. And where there is. These are some exceptionally long push rods because the cam is probably low enough that the valves are on top of it for the exhaust side. Just making some final checks, seeing if there's any bolts that I've missed. I don't think there is a head bolt underneath the thermostat housing. Just judging by the pattern back there, there's a nice space. I remember on flathead Ford V8s, you actually have some underneath the water outlet, so don't go prying on those heads without all the bolts off. All right, time to pull the head bolts, I believe. I would not consider this engine a delicate cylinder head or a delicate engine in general. But I'm still going to break these cylinder head bolts loose in an outside to inside pattern. So as this thing is coming apart, it's not flexing it in weird ways. It would be way more critical if it was aluminum cylinder head or a modern engine. They don't have nearly the amount of strength in the cylinder head, or block for that matter. This old chunk of iron was designed to be repaired in the field, so I don't think I'm going to have any real big issues. I still like to do it just because. Is there a head bolt down under the carburetor? Oh, that's a good one. Uh-oh. Come on. You can do it. I'll let you sit for a second. There it is. So I'm pretty sure that I can reuse these head bolts. Put it this way, I'm going to. I would say that even if I bought replacement new ones, they probably won't be as good a steel as these old ones. So as long as they're in good shape, I'm probably going to reuse them. They are not a torque to yield bolt like a modern cylinder head would be. I'm going to sneak up on this guy. This guy still doesn't want to come out very nicely. Ooh, it feels like it's going to break off. I really do not want to break off that bolt. Come on. Oh no. Oh no. That bolt is right next to the exhaust port in the block. So that guy is probably gonna be a problem. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that guy. I almost wanna maybe try and put some penetrating oil down in it. I'm not 100% sure. I really would rather not break it off if I could at all avoid it. But sometimes it's not up to me. Unfortunately, when you're working on a 70-year-old vehicle, I'm gonna run into stuff like that. Luckily the engine's coming out anyways, so if I happen to break it off, which I really don't want to, it'll be way easier to fix it on the bench or on the engine stand than it will be in the Jeep here. So this is just an investigation mission. It's not a head gasket repair mission. Hopefully I don't break it off, but if I do, it's not the end of the world. It's just a real big pain in the ass. Gonna get some PB Blaster and see if I can get it to wick down underneath that head bolt. I have tried all different flavors of penetrating oil. The reality is, most of the time, none of them work. So, I do it anyways, just to say I did, just to make myself feel better. Whether it's actually going to do anything or not remains to be seen. I'm also going to kind of just wiggle this thing back and forth a little bit. Oof, man, I don't like that at all. And then when I do actually put some torque on it, I'm gonna take this big long doofy extension off. Maybe try and go directly on the bolt itself. I don't put any twist and side loads on it. I just kind of take my time on this thing. I may be able to get it to go, but I may not. Try a little bit more juice. Let that sit for a little bit. Man, I don't like that. It may have a end of the bolt that lands in coolant, and it's possible that there is some rust that has grown on the threads. And so if I can get it up a little bit, and I can get some more juice to go down in there and coerce it out of its spot. Maybe, maybe not. Can't tell if it's breaking off or if it's coming out. Probably a little of both. It is coming out, or at least part of it is. Don't know if it's gonna come all the way out or not. At least I know that I don't think it is thoroughly wedged or rusted in the block. So when I do have to extract it, if it breaks off, it shouldn't be the hardest bolt to get out. I'm becoming cautiously optimistic. Every time I think everything's good, hard spot. I don't like that. This guy right here, although it's going to be nice, I don't have to pull the hood off to pull the engine out. I have bashed myself on that more times tonight than I care to disclose. So you see some gaps in the video. It's probably me cursing from hurting myself. Oh man, we are close. I just realized that I didn't break these two head bolts loose. I didn't even see those guys in there. Oops. All right, well, this bolt is victorious. Looks terrible, but it's not in there. So that is a good thing. Doesn't look like it pulled the threads out of the block either necessarily. Just a bunch of rust and corrosion. And I cannot forget the one underneath the carburetor. I already broke it loose, but I think it's still in there. I could probably really make my life easy and pull front fenders and grill off. And then I wouldn't have to work around it, but I think I have a high likelihood of scratching it, taking it on and off. Getting it aligned back up and all that jazz is not something I'm really looking forward to, so I'm just gonna try, still be careful on it. This towel is doing a good job so far, so we're all right. I think I'm gonna go get a magnet. That makes more sense. All right. Did I forget any bolts or other things that are gonna hold this cylinder head in place before I get a pry bar / hammer / well, dead blow, something like that? Because if I just grab onto it, never mind, it just popped off. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Just looking at it, might have some signs of head gasket starting to blow compression around, but I gotta go look at the head and see what we got. All right, well, I got plenty of carbon built up, especially in that back cylinder where all that oil was being cooked back there. I'm gonna pop this thing in neutral so I can spin that engine over and inspect that cylinder wall. Let's take a look. All right, I'm gonna clean this cylinder wall up so I can actually see what it looks like. Make sure there's no big grooves or anything like that. And see if this thing will take a ball hone and a new set of rings. So, right up in here, yeah, we got a little bit of a ridge. I can catch it with my finger now. A piston ring cracked and then a chunk of it went up and down or something like that. I personally have never worked on a flathead or an F-head, so this is gonna be new to me, but pulling the exhaust manifold off, and then there's a side cover that you can get to the valves and the valve springs on that side. So looking at this, there's a bunch of carbon on these valves, obviously, and they probably weren't sealing all that great either. So a valve job is probably in order while we got it apart. This is exactly what I expected. I was just hoping to not see gigantic grooves in the cylinder walls, because then I have no chance of just throwing this thing back together and not taking it to the machine shop. I'll probably be tempted to actually fix it right. Just don't know if that's in the budget or the time frame that I really want to get this thing back together. We'll see. I don't know if this engine has been apart or rebuilt before, so I really need to clean off one of these pistons and make sure it doesn't say 30 over or something. I don't see any oversized markings, so hopefully these are original pistons, original size bore. I don't even know what an original piston looks like on one of these, so yeah. Is there some piston to wall clearance? Absolutely. Oh boy. That's enough work for a Friday night. Got the cylinder head off. Now it's time to pull the rest of the engine out of the Jeep and get it cleaned up. This thing is a mess from probably being in this Jeep ever since it was new. What I think I'm gonna do is get a service manual of some sorts for this thing. So that way, I mean, I'm gonna need it when I'm going back together. So that way I know the torque specifications. And I just really like to have those around so I'm not flying blind. This thing's got some oil lines that I don't know if they're pressure lines or if they're return lines, but some external stuff that I'm not sure what it does. And I want to make sure that it's in good condition when it goes back together and that I have it correct. So I'm going to probably order one of those, get it in a couple days, and take a break for a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I'm definitely going to move forward with pulling the engine out. I think it's time to get this thing out and maybe assess it a little bit more. Make sure the crank's in good shape or good enough shape. This thing didn't have any oil pressure issues, but I just want to make sure that I've got the right size bearings for it and all that good stuff. So time to start pulling this thing out and move on to the next steps. That's going to do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Restore It Ralph channel.